Have you ever wondered how extraordinary human creations, designed to propel our species towards prosperity, have instead turned against us, wreaking havoc on our communities? From a terrifying chemical disaster that nearly wiped an Italian town off the face of the earth, to an oil spill that forever changed our global marine ecosystem, let's explore the top 5 most dangerous man-made disasters in history. Number 5. The Cervezo Disaster. On July 10, 1976, Lombardy, Italy witnessed what was once considered the worst environmental catastrophe in history. Time magazine ranked the Cervezo disaster as the 8th worst environmental disaster ever recorded. It deeply impacted the community of Cervezo, which had a population of 17,000 at the time, while neighbouring towns, although not as severely, were also affected. The Cervezo disaster was a complex incident that resulted from multiple factors. Through investigations and analysis, researchers have gained insights into the causes and dynamics of the accident. Information which has been instrumental in implementing measures to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. This tragic event unfolded at a manufacturing plant near Milan, in a town known as Cervezo, resulting in the highest recorded exposure to a deadly chemical known as dioxin in residential populations. Remarkably, the local population had not perceived the plant as a potential source of danger, as it had been operating for many years without incident. While previous instances of dioxin exposure had occurred in other industrial accidents, the scale and severity of the Cervezo disaster was unparalleled. In response to the disaster, extensive scientific studies were conducted, leading to the establishment of standardized industrial safety regulations. Number 4. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy occurred on the night of December 2, 1984 at the Union Carbide India Limited pesticide plant and lasted for an astonishing 24 hours. It is considered the worst industrial disaster in history as it affected over 500,000 people in the surrounding towns, exposed to the highly toxic gas methyl isocyanate. Blindness, respiratory problems, and other health ailments widely affected the population, with an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 deaths. Under the cover of night, an invisible menace began to seep into the air. Methyl isocyanate, a highly toxic gas used in the production of pesticides, started leaking from the factory's storage tanks in the surrounding atmosphere. Unbeknownst to nearby residents, a disaster of unimaginable proportions was unfolding right before their very eyes. As the poisonous gas spread, an invisible deadly cloud crept into the homes and streets of nearby towns, silently infiltrating the lungs of anyone unfortunate enough to breathe it in. Panic spread like wildfire as people awoke, coughing and gasping for air. Chaos ensued as thousands of pesticide plant workers desperately tried to flee from accountability. Through the years, the story of Bhopal has served as a tragic reminder of the high cost of negligence and corporate irresponsibility. Little did the people of Bhopal know that this innocent-looking factory would become the epicenter of one of the most catastrophic industrial disasters ever witnessed. Number 3. Montana Asbestos Clouds. The history of contamination in Libby, Montana dates back to 1919, when vermiculite mining began. Vermiculite, a naturally occurring mineral with heat-resistant properties, often develops alongside asbestos. Unfortunately, the vermiculite deposit in Libby was already contaminated with asbestos, leading to devastating health consequences for all the workers and residents. As a result, many residents of Libby have suffered from asbestos-related diseases and even lost their lives. The impact on the community has been significant, with a staggering number of individuals experiencing asbestos-related illnesses. The severity of the situation gained national attention, and the US Environmental Protection Agency intervened in 1999 to initiate cleanup efforts. The use of contaminated vermiculite, commercially known as zonolite, in construction materials such as insulation for homes and buildings clearly had detrimental consequences. The mining company, W.R. Grace & Company, took over operations in 1963 and was aware of the asbestos contamination and its harmful effects. However, they failed to alert people about the dangers, while mining operations continued until 1990. In 2009, the EPA declared a public health emergency in Libby, recognizing it as the worst industrial poisoning in US history. This declaration provided additional funding for healthcare services to assist the affected residents. Toxic asbestos dust from the vermiculite mines, which helped the town prosper for decades, ultimately killed hundreds of residents, sickening thousands more, and yet victims continue to surface. The ongoing struggle in Libby serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can occur when companies prioritize profits over the well-being of communities. As such, Libby, Montana has gone down in the record books as the site of one of America's worst man-made environmental disasters in history. Number 2. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill. On April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill occurred in the Gulf of Mexico, having a profound impact on the environment. Marine and wildlife habitats, as well as the fishing and tourism industries in the region, were decimated. In response to the spill, various measures were taken to contain the oil and protect coastal areas. But despite attempts to seal the well, reports indicated that it continued to leak even after the initial containment efforts. Throughout the cleanup process, oil was removed from affected beaches in Louisiana, and traces of oil were found in the Florida Panhandle, specifically in Tampa Bay, causing severe environmental and health effects, the death of many marine animals, including dolphins, and reports of deformities in exposed fish. The incident triggered numerous investigations to determine its causes, with the US government reports primarily attributing the disaster to the actions of BP, the company responsible for the well. BP pleaded guilty to criminal charges, paid substantial fines, faced government monitoring of its ethics and safety practices, and was temporarily banned from new contracts with the US government. As a result of gross negligence and reckless conduct, BP was thus deemed primarily responsible for the spill, making the largest corporate settlement in US history. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill serves as a lasting reminder of corporate negligence, the dire consequences of industrial accidents, and the importance of environmental protection practices. Number 1. The Chernobyl Meltdown. Looming in the depths of history is an infamous tale of darkness and devastation, a story that sent shockwaves through the world and forever changed the course of how our world perceives nuclear power. On April 26, 1986, the heart of the Chernobyl disaster brought rise to both immense chaos and heroism. During a safety test, an operator error caused a significant drop in reactor power. Control rods were removed beyond the allowed limit. Attempts to shut down the reactor resulted in a localized increase in reactivity, which then caused fuel channel ruptures and a pressure drop. What happened next caught the world by storm. The reactor core exploded, melted, and led to a massive fire, permanently damaging the reactor building. Brave firefighters rushed to the scene, risking their lives to extinguish the fire, stabilize the reactor, and clean up the radioactive material. However, they were grossly unaware of the dangerously high radioactivity levels at the site. The initial explosion killed 2 workers. In the first 3 months after the explosion, 28 firemen and emergency cleanup workers died from acute radiation sickness, one succumbing to a cardiac arrest. The disaster also released radioactive material far into the air, contaminating vast areas of the USSR and Europe. A massive exclusion zone was established, forcing the evacuation of thousands of people from their homes. Chernobyl remains a haunting reminder of the dangers associated with nuclear energy and the devastating consequences that unfold when safety measures are not prioritized. Now that you've witnessed the top 5 man-made disasters in history, check out this next video on top 5 natural disasters, and we'll see you there.